everyone, I'm going to be teaching you how to make this cute little keychain coffee cup. Very simple, very beginner friendly. It took me only 15 minutes to really make it, and so I hope that you'll enjoy this. Let's get started. For this tutorial, you are going to need a weight for yarn. You can use whatever color you want, just make sure it's a light color because I found out that looks best. You don't need to use a specific type of brand, you can just use any brand you want. You also need a brown color. You can use light brown or dark brown, it doesn't matter. You use a little bit of stuffing for this tutorial, a little bit of thread, a tapestry needle, which works amazing for yarn because tiny needles are hard to fit the yarn through. You're also going to need a 3.75 millimeter hook. It doesn't matter though, you can use a 3.5 or a 4.0 if you want to make the size bigger or smaller. You're going to need some scissors and, of course, some keychains. You are also going to need two 8mm safety eyes, or you can sew them in if you want to. I find that safety eyes are the best because they just look the cutest. For this video, we're going to use the chain 2 method, where we make a slip knot, stick the needle through, and we chain 2. We grab the yarn and pull it through that hole and pull it through the hole again. Then we stick the needle through the first chain, which is this chain right here. Stick the needle through, grab this yarn, pull it through, pull through 2. We're going to do this again. Pull it through, pull through 2, all on the same chain. Pull it through, pull through 2. We have made 3. We can count the stitches by counting these 3 V shapes. So we're going to do this 3 more times, having a total of 6 single crochets. Once you've done it 3 times, and you can count all the chains, this one is a single crochet. We're going to take this, hold it right here, and pull it tight. Once you do that, the first round is done. For the second row, what we're going to do is stick the needle through that first stitch. Sometimes this can be a little bit hard, especially if your tension isn't quite right, but you can get it through, I believe in you. So then we're going to make a single crochet like we did in the first chain. We stick it through this V, we grab the yarn, pull it through, pull through 2. Now we're going to do this again through the same stitch. Stick it through, grab the yarn, pull through 2. We're going to do this in every single stitch around 5 more times. So, I'm going to go through. That would be 3 single crochets. Now that's 4 single crochet. 5 single crochet. 6 single crochet. If you ever lose your count, you can just count the stitches, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and you have 9, and just work up until you have 12. Just put the single crochet in every stitch until you reach the number 12. At this point, I forgot to mention it to you, but I find it best to put a stitch marker into the last stitch that you did. We could have also done this on the first round so that it would have been easier, but I forgot to tell you. So we're just going to put the stitch marker into the last stitch you did, right before the loop on your hook. For the third round, we're going to do a straight single crochet round, but instead of going under both loops like this, we're only going to go under one loop, like that. So you're going to do the same single crochet process, but we're only going under one loop, just like so. You can count while you're doing it, or you can simply wait till you're right next to the stitch marker to do it. Once you are up to the stitch marker, you are going to take it out and place your final stitch into that backward loop. Do a single crochet, take your stitch marker, and grab that loop. You may notice that your work is beginning to curve inward or outward. I find it best to make your work curve this way. It just looks a whole lot neater than if you were to curve it this way, where it looks bumpy and ugly. Well, not ugly, but it just looks messy. So if you curve it this way, that is the right way to do it. For round 4, we are going to do another increase round. We're going to go into the first stitch and single crochet 1. But into the next stitch, we're going to single crochet 2, which gives us a total of 3 stitches. We're going to do this process all the way around until we get to 18. Just single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase. I'll meet you at the end. Once you get to the end, you're going to take your stitch marker out and place 2 final single crochets in that last loop. For rounds 5 through 7, what we're going to do is we're just going to single crochet in every single stitch all the way around. No increases, no decreases, just single crochet all the way around. Also, to count the rows, you'll notice that there is a slight line between every row that you've done. So what you're going to do is you're going to count this slight line. You're going to go 1, 2, because you notice this, we're going to count this way, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've done 4 rounds so far. And now we're doing row 5, and after that row 6, and after that row 7. Once you get to the end of round 7, we're going to go ahead and take the stitch marker out, grab our scissors, and cut a long tail for sewing. Go ahead also and slip stitch into the next stitch so that when you start sewing, it's not really a bumpy edge. So now what we're going to do in order to tie off the tail is we're just going to take this and we're going to pull it like that and pull all the way. Just like that. Pull all the way, and it doesn't come through. Now we are going to move on to the coffee part of the tutorial. For the coffee part of the tutorial, we are going to take our brown yarn and we're going to again use the chain 2 method. You can look back to the beginning if you don't know how to do it or if you just want to figure it out again. So I'm going to do it more quickly this time. 2. And so we are going to again single crochet 6 in that first loop. What we're doing for the coffee part of the tutorial is we're basically just making increasing up so that we can have 18 stitches to properly sew around. So once we have those 6 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm going to tie it shut and move on to round 2. For round 2, we are going to insert our hook into that first stitch right here. Again, this can be a little bit difficult, especially if your tension was too tight, but once you make it through, you gotta make sure you have both V's on top, like so, and simply put in an increase. I don't know why I'm struggling so hard at this moment. I think my tension was too tight, but it's okay. we're going to put in an increase. Then we're going to put in an increase all the way around through the next 5 stitches. We're just going to put 2 into each stitch, like so. Once you have 12 stitches, you can go ahead and count them if you want, or you can just be rest assured that you have all of them. I'm going to put a stitch marker in at this point, and we're going to do another increase round where we go into the next stitch, single crochet, and then in the next stitch we're going to increase. This is a little bit harder to see because I'm using darker yarn, so if you want, you can go back to the lighter color and simply re-watch if you need some help figuring out how to do the increases in the stitches. I'll meet you back at the end of round 3. At the end of round 3, we are again going to take our stitch marker out. We are going to slip stitch, which is basically where you put your hook in there, and instead of creating a single crochet, we're just gonna pull it through that loop, and we're going to leave a semi-long tail so that we can weave in the ends. To weave in the ends, what we're simply going to do is we're going to grab our tapestry needle. We're going to simply thread that on with our loop. We don't need to thread in this middle loop. I don't find that necessary because it doesn't come undone if you have done it right. What we're going to do is we're simply going to kind of tie it down to where it won't be as bumpy, and then we're going to simply kind of grab a stitch or 2 and pull it through. Grab those another 2 stitches and pull it through. And that's it, because when you sew it on, that stuff will remain hidden and you'll just have a beautiful brown top for your coffee. For the eyes, I found it best to place them between rounds 5 and 6. So what you're going to do for the eyes is you're going to make sure that this loop is in the back, so that just in case if your work is messy, that tie off won't be able to show as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to count the rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you see this little hole just right there? We're going to stick the eye in right there. We're going to grab the other eye, and we're going to place it about 3 stitches apart, or no, 2 stitches apart, just like that. Then we're going to grab our safety backs, and we're just simply going to pop those on. This can be hard sometimes, especially if you have nails, long nails, and it can bend them. And sometimes you have special tools to help pop them on, but I just like using my fingernails. And there we go. We're not going to put the smile on until after we have stuffed it. That's just like the way I like to do it, but if you want to do it before you stuff it, that's also okay. We are going to sew the 2 together. Make sure you have stuffing handy because we're also going to stuff it before we officially close it off. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this long tail end. We're going to thread it onto the needle, and we're going to grab the last stitch, if you can see it, the last stitch that you did under those 2 V's. Just going to pull it in like so. Make sure that nothing's stuck. And kind of stuff those yarn ends in as you're sewing. And then we're going to grab these next 2 loops and put it in through those 2 loops. Very simple process of sewing it on. I'll meet back in just a little bit to show you when to stuff it. Once you are mostly dead with sewing and you just have a small little hole left, we're going to grab our stuffing, tear off just a tiny bit like that, and we're going to just stuff it in through that small little hole. You can do this at any time. Really, I find it a little bit more difficult though to sew when you already have the stuffing inside. So I prefer to wait until I just have a small little hole left. Make sure you don't stuff it too much or else we're gonna have a fat little teacup. If you think that's cute, then go ahead, but you don't want to stuff it too much. Then we're simply going to sew the rest of the way. And going in and out until you have it finished like that. You're also going to want to thread off this yarn. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of put it in between here, and I like to go to the very bottom of the cup through that initial first hole that we did. And we're going to do the same thing we did with the brown yarn. We're going to just bring the tail in like that, and if it's sticking up, don't worry, we can fix that. Bring it back through another side. Make sure it's flat. Grab your scissors, snip that tail, and kind of just poke it back in. And there we go! Our little teacup is completed. I can now show you how to do the little handle of the teacup. For the handle of the teacup, we are going to simply make a slip knot, and we are going to chain 8, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can count them if you want to. I find it easy to just chain 8, and we're going to cut a semi long tail. Well, that's not really long, but then we're going to simply tie it off like that. For sewing on, we're going to thread it onto our tapestry needle, like this, and we're just going to look for a good spot. Kind of try placing it, like not sewing it through, but kind of placing it and positioning it to where you think it'll be a good spot. I think that's a good spot. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to bring it through like that. Grab the other yarn end. And kind of line it up and bring it through again, like that. Now you have this cute little handle on, but it's not really firm. If you really tug on it, it's going to come out. So what we're going to do is going to grab the top thread or the bottom thread, stick it back through the same hole, and bring it through the hole where the other yarn tail is poking out. Now we have these 2 yarn ends coming out of the same hole, so now we're going to tie those yarn ends in a knot. Be careful that when you tie them together that you don't really, because sometimes this can pop through, so make sure that you don't do it too tight or too aggressively, or else it'll kind of mess up a little bit. But after we're done with that, after we're done sewing those together, just going to take your scissors and cut that off, and then poke it back in. We're basically done with the tutorial now. You have the little teacup now. If you want to leave it without the face, you can, or if you just want to leave it without the keychain, you also can, but I find it looks cuter with the mouth, and if you want to have it to have an actual purpose, you can add the keychain. For the mouth, we're going to take a little bit of thread, and we're going to put it through the tapestry needle. I find that you don't need to use a tapestry needle because it often slips out if you use a needle with such a big eye with this. So you can use a smaller needle if you want to, but what we're going to do is we're just going to stick it through some place near the eyes, kind of about right here, and we're going to put the smile somewhere just below the eye, like that, and make sure it's sticking out just like that because we're going to tie it in later. And underneath the other eye, I find right here is really good. And we're gonna stick it someplace through the middle so that you see that cute little line. It's kind of a meh face. If you want to leave it like that, you also can. You can do whatever expressions. If you want to do a happy face, bring it in through that. And you make a cute little happy face. You can kind of move it around a little bit so that it's not quite sinking so low. Or if you want to do an angry face, you would instead put the yarn just a little bit above the teacup, the place. Bring it in, oops, I dropped my needle. Bring it in like that. And kind of make it a little bit angry. Or it makes it look derpy, like that. I prefer a smile though. Once you're satisfied with the placement of your smile, you can bring it back through that same hole and bring it back over to where you first entered and tie it down like that. Kind of move it around a little bit so that it looks a little bit cute. We're going to take it off, tie the two yarns together. After we're done with that, we can take our scissors, cut the yarn, and put it back through. And now you have your cute little happy teacup or coffee cup, whatever you want to call it. If you want to leave it like this and just give it to someone without a keychain, that's fine. But you can also put the keychain on, which I think is cute because everybody can show it off as well. For the keychain, what we're going to do is we're going to take a long piece of thread, the same color of your teacup, and we're going to thread it through one of the entryways that you could possibly do. And I find it best to kind of line it up with the teacup. This is the best place to really have a keychain. Then we're going to grab our keychain and pull it through the same hole, like that, and coming back through. That'll tie it on. So now, we're going to do the same thing, like so. Oop, kind of make sure that's okay, you know? And you're gonna want to do that until your keychain seems nice and secure. I like to do it 2 times, but you can do it more times if you're just unsure, or if you think it looks better. After you're done with that, we're gonna do the same thing we did with the smile and the handle, and we're just gonna tie it like that. After we've tied it, you take your scissors and cut it. Make sure to stuff that part in. Make sure your scissors are closed so that you don't, cut your material. And just stuff it there, back in. I hope you liked this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. It was a nice, cute little idea of mine just to make. You can leave a like, subscribe, or simply comment. You don't have to, but it would be nice. Thank you so much for your watching, and have a nice day.